Well, 2 days ago, Canada's housing agency said the weakening Toronto condo market was reminiscent of the crash in the 1990s. Joining us now to tell us how the condo market is doing in our region is Anthony Passarelli with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Anthony, how would you characterize condo sales in Hamilton, Halton and Niagara?
Right now, they're very slow. So the sales are at very low levels, and that would be for not just condos, but for all dwelling types.
And how would you rate the current supply and demand in Hamilton, Halton and Niagara when it comes to condos?
When it comes to condos, the markets in all three regions are in the favor of buyers right now. So there's a lot of inventory relative to the number of sales out there. So that's putting some downward pressure on prices in all three regions. And that's been happening for throughout the year. And, we do expect that to continue to occur, at least in the short term in those markets, given how much more inventory is still yet to be completed in the new projects.
So how bad could it get? Will the condo markets here see drops that are comparable to the condo crash in the early 1990s?
We don't see that happening. A few reasons for that. In the 1990s example was very specific to Toronto. You didn't see that size of a condo market in Hamilton, Halton, Niagara at the time, right? It was mostly single family homes, but from what happened in Toronto in that period in the 90s, a lot of the condos that were built were not pre-sold. They were just built on speculation, hoping that there'd be buyers that would purchase them when they're completed. Whereas this time around, the condominiums were predominantly pre-sold before construction. Builders weren't able to get financing to build the projects unless they sold about 70 to 80% of the units in advance, right? So most of those units are accounted for and have a buyer. There is a percentage that don't, and some of them are being returned to the builder, but the vast majority are purchased already. Therefore, there isn't that same amount of speculation going on in the market as there was then.
What could this mean for future condo development in our region?
Well, what it means clearly is that development will be slowing down. It already has to an extent, but it will continue to slow down quite drastically because there's so much already being built. And like I just mentioned, the projects that are currently selling don't have enough sales for them to get financing and start building. So they will not actually get off the ground until they get enough sales.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Anthony Passarelli is with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. And one final note, the Bank of Canada's next policy rate change will be announced on October 29th.